Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back. We are here today. We have an amazing guest today. We have Cory Clark with us, the sales therapist. He'll be on in 30 seconds, so get ready and he'll be taking over stage. Get ready.
Okay, what's up, guys? I think y'all can hear me? I can't see anybody on my end. But okay, I think so. I think I'm getting some messages. Are we good? Joe, are we good? Okay, cool. Okay, I've never used this. Can you guys see my slides as well? Okay. Okay, so. Okay, cool. Okay, so my name's Cory. Stoked to chat with you guys. I am a licensed mental health therapist. I worked in sales all through my undergrad, through grad school. So this is a little picture of my family. Actually, I need to update this because I have a little son now too. He's like almost 1, and so this is my little daughter Davis. Then we have a little boy, Rylan, and then my wife Colby. And I went to grad school at Oklahoma State, got a master's there, and that's where I became a therapist. And then really sales for me, I worked in door to door. So I sold pest control. And then I did, well, pretty much pest control the whole time, all through my undergrad. And then I did some tech sales and stuff throughout grad school too, as well. But uh, sales for me always was a way, to make money because obviously sales is a great place to do that. And so for me, I was kind of had the ADHD brain. So like focusing on school and working full time, that type of stuff was like really hard for me. And so sales was great because I could go work for 4 or 5 months, make a ton of money, and then focus on school, and just go ham on school and really dial in and not have to work. And so actually get the grades that I wanted and learn what I wanted. So sales was great because it allowed me to do that for 6 years. However, throughout my process in sales, myself included, and seeing so many other reps, something that always bothered me was just seeing sales professionals struggle mentally and emotionally in a way that, like, man, no other job and career will you see people struggle mentally the same way you'll see it in sales, right? And obviously, I remember like my first sales job going out. I was always pretty high performer, but I was also at risk of feeling more emotionally drained than I wanted to feel. And I remember, you know, trying to asking questions of like, okay, obviously I'm selling well, but I feel like I could feel differently in this job, and getting the advice of like, do your morning routines, be positives, do your affirmations in the mirror, and me being like, and people asking like, have you tried those things? I'm like, dude, I'm trying those things. Of course, I'm freaking trying those things. It just doesn't seem like it's solving a problem, the real problem that I'm facing. And honestly, it wasn't until becoming a therapist I was like, holy frick, dude, this is really what the sales world needs, rather than just these surface level solutions that are valuable. They just don't always create that deeper level change that sales has this increased ability to target sometimes our biggest insecurities, or are these parts of ourselves that most jobs won't ever target, right? Which is the same reason why I love sales. Sales will push us to grow and develop in ways that most jobs never will. And the reward on that is huge. It can be. Um, and so after grad school, just kind of ran with it, and I went all in on this business. And so I'm like 4 years 4 years into this business, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of sales professionals and companies, and it's been awesome. So I do this full time, and this is my baby. So and essentially what I do is I just work one-on-one with a ton of sales reps and helping them mentally and emotionally perform the way they want to, mentally, as well as let that translate into money that they can make too. So um, you'll get speakers too that are like motivation based, then like here's actually some practical skills, then you get some in between. Today, I'm like more of an in-betweener type of guy. However, today I am giving you just tons of stuff that you can actually apply, because like motivation's great. You get enough of that, you can go find that. What I want to give you is like, I'm the guy that like, yeah, I want to be the guy that like, okay, this motivation's great, but let's actually, what do I do now that I'm motivated? Who do I go to for that to actually create change? That's what I want to give you, is actually some practical stuff you can walk away with and provide value with. So this poop emoji, it's like, why the freak does this dude have a poop emoji on his slides? So question you guys can all answer, right now. If you were knocking doors, I'm assuming everyone here is selling solar or pest or something, knocking doors. Sorry, I just ate a ton of food. I'm talking a lot, so it's kind of coming up. If you were knocking doors and you pooped your pants, okay, you straight up just crapped your pants, and you're out there knocking doors and pooped your pants, would you keep knocking doors? Yes or no? Okay. Most of you, there's always one dude that's always like, yeah, dude, I'd freaking keep knocking doors with crap in my pants. I don't care. But most of you are like, dude, there's no way in heck you're going to keep knocking doors if you have a turd in your pants. It's just facts, right? And the reason I bring this up is that, and the reason this analogy works so well is that too often in this job, and there's a lot of reasons you wouldn't keep knocking doors with poop in your pants. Like, and I don't need to go into the reasons why, but we all know it's just something you wouldn't do. You would go and you'd clean it up and you'd figure it out, and then you get back to work, right? So too often in sales, I call them emotional dumps. We just take these emotional dumps and we just keep working. We keep working, we keep going day after day after day, and you got the same emotional dump in your pants for 5 freaking days in a row, and it's just sitting there, right? And customers can smell it. It's bad. It's impacting your life. It's impacting your mental state, your sales, all the things, right? And sometimes it lasts a long time. Sometimes it's just once, whatever, and then it creeps back in, right? The concept, though, is that we experience a lot of thoughts and emotions and things in this job, and sometimes these things can debilitate us if we don't be aware of it, take care of it, work through it, and really process this stuff before moving on. That's why you see sometimes a level of exhaustion that is high in this job, is because honestly, people don't really solve the core issue. They just feel and feel and feel. And then, you can only feel quote unquote inadequate for how many days in a row without actually working through it properly before your body's like, hey, bro, I don't really like feeling this and you're not doing anything about it. So I'm just going to start shutting down. And you see reps go through this all the time, right? So what's the formula, right? So today we're going to go over this formula to better work through creating the best version of yourself mentally and emotionally in this job. Okay. And to really be able to work through emotions and really be able to master your mind. Okay. So what's the formula? Step 1 is self-awareness. Okay. An analogy I like to use for self-awareness is such a valuable aspect. The way I kind of like to teach it, one way, there's a lot of ways I like to teach it, but one way is something that's relatable to all of us, right? Is if you're driving, let's say you're on the freeway and you're driving your car, right? And you're going down the freeway and the check engine light pops on, right? And let's say it's smoking. What are you going to do? Most likely you're going to pull over, or the nearest exit, you're going to pull over, right? And you're going to get out of your car and you're going to pop open that hood, right? And you're going to pop open the hood and you're going to look in the engine. And 90% of the people on this call right now are not mechanics, right? But you still popped open the engine. right? And so you're like, okay, great. What am I looking like? What am I looking at? Right. And I would do the same thing. I'd pull over, pop on the engine, and then I'd be like, well, I literally don't know anything more than if I was just in my car. Right. Um, and so self-awareness is, and so what you would need to do is find a mechanic or find someone who's knowledgeable, who understands every component of your car, the parts, yada, yada, to be able to give you an assessment, a diagnosis, whatever, to be able to fix it. And so self-awareness is being the mechanic to your own car, right? It's having the ability to really understand yourself on a deeper level, how you work, tendencies you have, why you are the way you are, where to create change, where to put focus, and really, really targeting you on a deeper level so that you can better have the best chance possible of solving the problem at hand. So it's really understanding yourself, who you are, so that you can solve problems effectively rather than walk and take emotional dumps and just fall into the same mother freaking cycle, right? That's self-awareness. And so this can be on a big page, big level of like, hey, I'm really have this big problem that I'm trying to understand, or it's just day-to-day little self-awareness here and there, just like, wow, I'm feeling something, what's going on, and processing it, right? Um, okay. Step number 2, and typically with this, I have lots of questions and people, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So the best part about this too is, and I'll throw this in at the end, but I always do a free call with anybody that's interested in working with me, partly because when it comes to working with one-on-one, I got to make sure that you're a good fit for me, and I'm a good fit for you. But I always do a free call just so that we can chat it up, get to know each other. So a lot of you probably are going to have questions throughout this. So if you want to, that's also a great place we can do that. But step 2 is emotional mastery, right? It's just having this ability to feel. We're allowed to feel as humans. If you don't feel, you're lying to yourself. You do feel. It's okay to feel. So grateful that we feel. What a beautiful world to live in that allows us to feel and connect and to have emotions. And there totally is a time and place for them. And what we want to do is be aware of our emotions and master our emotions rather than our emotions totally dictate all of our choices, right? Um, and so one way that we can do this, if there's one thing you guys get from this, please let it be this. And I post content all the time on Instagram too. If you're not following, the sales therapist is the tagline, is the whatever you call it, tagline, whatever headline. And I post content all the time, and I always try to give just valuable stuff that actually helps create change, because that's what I'm about, is creating change, not just like, hey, let's just make you feel good and motivate you and hope that does enough, right? So this is something that, if there's one thing you take away, it's this. This is called the Rewire Framework. I won't go into huge detail of how it's created, but essentially, this actually ended up being like my thesis in grad school. As a therapist, there's like a ton of different models of therapy. There's like cognitive behavioral therapy, there's dialectical behavioral therapy, family systems theory. There's a ton of models of therapy. And traditionally, therapists would choose one model and use it for all their clients. And now, which I don't really love, I'm more pro understand all the models. And then depending on my client's needs, I'm going to create the best fit for them, and find the best approach for them. And so every model of therapy has their own framework to create change. And I created a framework that derives from, I think, the 5 best models of therapy. And this framework specifically is for being able to work through, create change within your thoughts and your emotions. So rather than your thoughts and emotions dictating your choices, and now you're living a life or making choices that don't actually align with what you want or who you want to be, it's being able to work through thoughts and emotions more effectively so that they push us towards becoming the best versions of ourselves. And so there's 4 steps to it. It's 4 R's. There's recognize, regulate, reach in, and respond. So recognize is super simple. It's just essentially recognizing, hey, like for example, if you woke up today and you were feeling anxious, a lot of you probably just like went on about your day, right? Whereas like what we want to do is recognize, oh, hey, I'm feeling anxious. What the frick's going on, right? Do I need to make sense of this emotion rather than just go about my day? Obviously, I'm feeling something. What's going on, right? And then regulate. So recognize is a really easy step, but it's typically the easiest one to also miss. It's so simple, but it's just the ability to be like, hey, I'm feeling off. Let me take a sec, right? Let me make sense of this. Regulate is all about regulating your body. When you're feeling a lot, your body has a higher risk of dipping into fight or flight. You guys know this. You guys have been taught this. Fight or flight is where you're at kind of feeling at threat, which can kind of build irrational thinking, yada yada, all this stuff, right? And so we want to be able to regulate our body. There's a lot of ways to do this. It could be ice bath, it could be sauna, it could be working out. The quickest way is obviously deep breathing. I like to breathe in through the nose for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 6 seconds, and then breathe out for 8. And I do that like 4 times. It sounds silly, it sounds like too simple, but I promise you there's no way. If you do that, there's no way and it doesn't solve your problem. Deep breathing is not a problem solver. It's a clarity giver, I guess you could say. It regulates your body so you can now, and in your brain, so that you can now solve problems. Because when you're in fight or flight, your brain actually shuts off the access point to logic. Isn't that crazy? There's an emotional side to your mind and a logical side of your brain. When we're in fight or flight, it essentially protects you and it shuts off that access point to really understand and dip into the logic. And logic is often where solutions lie, where we can see things clearly. So what you want to do is deep breathing allows your brain to release that access point so that you can think logically. It doesn't solve your problem. It allows you to gain the mind to solve your problem. Okay. That's a huge misconception with deep breathing and that type of stuff, is like people will do it and they're like, well, dude, nothing's changed. I'm like, well, yeah, of course, nothing freaking changed with your problem. It just allowed you to calm down so you can solve, right? So, which leads into the next step, which is so valuable. This is probably my favorite step. I freaking love this step. Reach in, which is all about, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What's really going on? And this is what I use for that. These emotions, this is called an emotion wheel. If you've never seen this, like, Merry Christmas, this is an amazing tool. The 7 emotions in the center, the angry, fearful, bad, happy, sad, disgusted, these are all surface level emotions. So meaning there's always something underneath it. So fearful, for example, you're never really feeling fear. And I would even say fearful is like, I'd say anxiety is becoming a surface level emotion. Like people throw that around like candy nowadays. Like, oh, I'm just anxious. It's like, what do you mean, dude? What do you mean? Right? So meaning there's always something underneath. So instead of calling it anxiety or fear, maybe it's, I feel weak, or I feel insecure, or I feel insignificant, or I feel inferior, right? Or anger, it's I feel jealous, I feel disrespected, I feel betrayed, I feel withdrawn, I feel, violated, right? Um, super Again, sales will bring out so many emotions that you probably wouldn't feel in other things, like feeling inadequate or inferior or jealous or violated even is not an uncommon emotion to feel in a job like this. It's okay to feel. It's what you do with what you feel that matters 10 times more. So this emotion wheel, on this reach in step, I would go, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Where's this coming from? And then I would ask myself, right? Like, okay, now, and this is, so the next step is, so reach in is all about making sense of it. Why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling inadequate because it's 6 p.m. I don't have a set appointment yet. I've been out here for, 4 or 5 hours knocking doors. I don't have a set appointment yet. Typically I have 2 by now and I don't. And I'm starting to feel inadequate. I'm starting to feel threatened. Okay. So that's okay. That's where it's coming from. Totally normal. I'm allowed to feel this. Okay, great. It's what I do with this freaking emotion that matters. You go sit in your car. What are you doing? You're literally telling yourself, oh, I'm inadequate. You're reconfirming a belief with this emotion, right? Or it's like, let me just go sit on a curb, or, oh, let me just go through the motions. It's like, dude, that's you're on a slippery slope, my friend, right? We got to take extreme ownership of these emotions, okay? So respond is, now that I know what I'm feeling and why, what do I do about these? How can I take ownership of this emotion rather than it own me, right? And so if I'm feeling inadequate, how can I take ownership of this rather than it own me? It wants me to maybe give up and then a day early, whatever, go through the motions, whatever it may be. And so if I'm feeling it, I got to lean in and I got to say, okay, hey, you know what? I'm going to knock X amount of doors. I'm going to give it everything I have, and I'm going to trust that, things will fall into place, right? And maybe results come or not, but I'll tell you this, that choice to process the emotion and then work hard is better than just grinding through it, because grinding through it with no self-awareness will lead to exhaustion, whereas being aware and then working hard can lead to growth, can lead to increased self-belief, increased confidence, so many good things, to where your body might not even actually feel like it has to tell you, in 2 weeks when that 6 p.m. no deal comes around again, it's not even feeling inadequate because you handled it so well the other day. It's like, I don't need you to feel inadequate because honestly, I know we're good, right? So that confidence grows, right? There's so much value in going through this process. Step 3 is extreme ownership. So this is something I was already kind of touching on, but for example, confidence is created by two things: the courage to try and new experiences. So it's like, for example, I'm feeling inadequate and I'm gonna have the courage to try to keep working hard despite feeling this way, and I'm gonna give everything I have. Courage to try it. Then boom, from that, you have some good interactions, maybe you get a deal, whatever it may be. So you get a new experience, right? Which now tells your brain, I am not inadequate. I am 100% adequate to be able to do this, which is a massive, massive thing that the brain needs to hold on to, right? And so, but it required you to take extreme ownership of that emotion you were experiencing, right? And so you're allowed to feel anything. There's no shame in what you feel. You can feel it. I feel a ton of crap. What I do with what I feel matters 10 times more. I'm in charge. I have to take ownership of what I feel, and my emotions are on me, and I am going to be aware of them. I'm going to own them, and I'm going to sometimes make the hard, sometimes ownership sucks, and what you have to do is hard, but it's better than playing victim to the emotions and creating a nasty cycle that just poops out nothing, right? Step 4 is vulnerability, and versus complaining, right? So with this, I'd say the big thing that I kind of want to bring up too on that is, and I wish I had, actually I do, just a second. Okay. Imagine this. Okay. And this is, imagine a rep that is struggling internally. Okay. He is having a hard time. Maybe he's performing okay. He's performing decent. I work with Golden Door. I work with reps everywhere, on the spectrum of performance. I worked with 12 Golden Doors this year. Right. And there's challenges and struggles and emotions and thoughts and hard days and so many things even with that, and then, I work with reps that are at a point where they're not performing the way they want to yet, or they're high performers. They're just like, their emotions are getting in the way of them reaching that level that they want to, right? And so imagine a rep who's struggling internally, okay, with something. Maybe he's feeling anxious with the doors, or he's having a hard time getting his car, or he's starting to fall into some sort of slump. He's overwhelmed. He's thinking about deals, whatever. Okay. But he's on the surface, he's acting all cool. Okay. So this is my sales bro personality. Okay. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it. Okay. So imagine, okay, he walks into the office, dude, and he's like, and again, remember, he's struggling. He walks in the office like, oh, sup, my guys, how we doing, my dude? And then someone's like, hey, dude, how you doing? They're like, good, bro. I'm doing good, man. Just trying to sling some D's today, my guy. Some deals, right? Right? Okay. And he's protecting himself, right? When in reality, the core part of him is actually he's struggling, he's feeling nervous, he's feeling maybe a little insecure, he's comparing himself, whatever it may be, right? But he's watching, he's like, oh, Saul, dude, I'm freaking good, my guy, and we're chilling, right? There's too much in the industry, and that's extreme examples, I know, but there's too much in the industry of I can't show who I am because it threatens how maybe people view me or whatever it may be, or it doesn't feel like a safe enough place to be real with people. Okay. And so this same rep who's like this, right? Who's like this, right? And then he's the same rep, instead of being vulnerable, he starts complaining, right? And what comes out of his mouth is, let's say it's the end of the day, or it was like, oh, dude, today freaking sucked, dude. Nobody freaking wants to buy from me, dude. Everyone's being a little punk, right? And so what comes out of his mouth is complaining, because when we experience emotions and thoughts, which you see this all the time in cultures, the cultures that have the highest complaining, typically there's not enough vulnerability, people, and it doesn't feel like a safe enough place for people to be real, because complaining happens because the body has to process emotions. You can't just shove crap under a rug. It's going to come out somehow. And so when you're feeling a lot, what comes out is, oh, dude, it's hot out. Oh, dude, it's Christmas, dude. Nobody's wanting to make decisions, dude. It freaking sucks, man. Like this job, whatever. When in reality, it's like, no, complaining is just your way of complaining comes from a lack of self-awareness. You don't actually know what's going on internally for you, and you're not processing that emotion. So what's come out is victim, right? And so two parts of that personality, right? Is, can that rep allow himself to be vulnerable and seen? And one way to be able to do that is, first, that rep should process what they're feeling and then have the courage to express that to people. Now, that doesn't have to be like, hey guys, like the misconception is that vulnerability will bring down a culture. But hear me out. It won't. It actually will level it up. Imagine this, I'll use an example. Imagine this, it's 5 p.m., you get a text from a rep on your team, and he says something along the lines of like this. Hey guys, it's 5 p.m. I don't have a deal yet. I'm reaching out because not to complain. I'm more just sharing this to take ownership and get this off my chest. Part of me right now is feeling inadequate. And sometimes when I feel this, I can really let it own me. And today I'm really just trying to own it. And my plan is just to keep working hard, keep talking with people, and trust the process. But I think just getting this off my chest and allowing myself to be seen will also be really helpful to helping me get my butt into gear. This is my plan, and I'm not expecting any, pity or anything like that. I'm just looking to, share this with the guys that I work with, and to level up together. Okay. Imagine getting that text, right? What are your thoughts of that guy? Most likely you're like, dude, respect. I respect this guy. He's freaking awesome. Totally respect him. And he's a stud, right? You're going to respect that guy, right? And so I think the value there is, if that same rep was like, dude, it's, today's sucked. Nobody's talking to me and this neighborhood's way difficult. You're gonna be like, dude, I don't want to hear your crap. I don't want to hear it. It's complaining. Complaining brings down a culture. Vulnerability levels it up, right? And so part of becoming the best version of yourself is being real, being vulnerable, and being self-aware of what you're feeling, having the courage to allow yourself to be seen, by others. I was going to do like a Q&A, but I realized this isn't. And so typically this training maybe is a little bit longer because, a lot of people have questions throughout the process. I didn't realize that that's not this. which is totally okay. So, what I will share with you guys is, just to wrap up, is again, sales. If you're feeling a lot in sales, just know that you're in the right place, right? So many people try sales and they're like, they give it a shot and they're like, no, sales isn't for me. It's not my thing. And I'm like, no, sales totally could have been for you. You just didn't work through it probably this as effective as you could have mentally and emotionally, right? And so, if essentially what I do with clients is I have like a ton of online course content. I do like one-on-one sessions with clients. I do weekly group calls with the community. So all my clients that we pop on and do weekly group calls. And I let clients have access to voice messages in between sessions, because long-term change in the brain happens with how we handle in the moment distress. So instead of like booking a call and it's 5 days away, now we're talking about a problem that's 5 days ago, you can actually process emotions with me in the moment. So that's really effective too. So if there's interest on your end to say, hey, what does it look like to work with Cory? Let's pop on a free call. The link is in my bio on Instagram. I can text it over to Joe too, and he can send it out. But and then yeah, typically how that free call goes is we chat it up, get to know each other, and then I'm happy to help wherever I can, even just on that call. If it does end up making sense to work together on the call, then I tell you what it looks like to do that. And if you want to be a part of it, great. If not, then there's no pressure whatsoever, and that's okay. So I think that's it though. And so if you guys have questions, hit me up, shoot me a message, and we'll kind of go from there. Joe, do I need to okay. Do I need to just leave the studio, or do I need to end it some other how, or I need to okay.
I'm back.
Do I need to just leave the studio, or do I need to end it some other how, or I need to okay. I'm back.
We'll just want to say thank you for being with us today. That was so powerful. Like I always say, what best way to start your week? Appreciate it, guys. If you guys don't follow him, you guys can find an Instagram as a therapist. So make sure you guys connect with him, reach out if you guys want to get more information, have questions. Appreciate it, Cory. I know we have some technical issues today. Appreciating. Have a great week, and next week we'll be here. We'll have an amazing guest, Glenn Lovelace will be with us. So be ready, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.